What up YouTube, Spike Robot here with another video, and this time it's part 2 of me reviewing every single Looney Tunes cartoon. Just to let you know, I'm not going to review any of the revival cartoons, I'm just going to do the originals. I don't really have anything else to say, let's just get to it. A Long Flirtation Walk. This cartoon is a little bit more interesting than Buddy's Theater, but in the worst way possible. First of all, the song only really appears in the middle and never comes up in any way later in the cartoon. That's a damn shame because the song is not that bad and gives me some Pen in the Park vibes. The last half of the cartoon is just a football style game where the goal is to have chickens lay as many eggs as possible. If you think this is supposed to be some sort of commentary on how love is just a game where you use chemical reactions to breed, then you would be wrong because one of the chickens does end up winning and it's portrayed as a happy ending. This game is actually quite uncomfortable to watch, even ignoring that. Since I did like the opening, I can't say I hate this cartoon, but don't confuse me with saying that it's good. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Buddy of the Legion. This is like a lamer version of Bo Bosco. It's just about Buddy fantasizing about being in the Foreign Legion and doing a mission in a North African setting. Only the dream sequence is marginally more interesting than what is actually happening. This is also when the Hays Code really starts to hurt the cartoons. There's a girl in a belly dancer uniform that the soldiers get distracted by, but she doesn't have a belly button. I have to ask, what the fuck is wrong with showing a girl's belly button? Everybody has one, you know. Of course, we have to have the men suffer for looking at her, which is just fucking stupid and wrong. I guess the way the villain gets taken out is kind of enjoyable, but it's no surprise that the action in Bo Bosco is way better. Yeah, I don't like this cartoon. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. My Green Fedora. This cartoon is not that bad. The rabbit from Country Boy returns, but this time he is forced to watch his brother Wilbert. The song My Green Fedora is sung to make him stop crying. But later, Wilbert gets captured by, I think it's a badger, I don't know what it is. And it leads to a climax that is, okay, not amazing, but entertaining enough. Even the ending is not that bad either. I won't call this one good, but it's pretty decent. And hey, I guess I kind of like the cartoons with Peter Rabbit, which I believe is his name. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Buddy's Lost World. I do like the concept of the cartoon, but once again, Buddy has to ruin it, although not to the degree of the last cartoon. The main issue that I have with it is the fact that on top of being boring and having an annoying voice, Buddy's pretty fucking dumb in this cartoon. Not because he befriends a dinosaur. The dinosaur is actually friendly, which is one of the things I actually like about this cartoon. No, there are other examples of him being dumb. Like, asking what is wrong with Bozo. Nothing, he was just saved from being trapped by dinosaur bones. Or just standing there calling Bozo behind a locked door. He's not gonna fucking come out. I guess I like how the dinosaur saves Buddy and Bozo from being fried by cavemen, but even the climax is pretty lame. The Lost World novel deserves better and has gone better than this. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Into Your Dance. This cartoon is actually pretty decent. Yeah, it's just another compilation of vaudeville acts performed by animals. However, some of them are actually pretty entertaining. The one with the pig conducting the orchestra is probably the best part. I forgot how good classical music sounds sped up, but I actually kind of like the bit with the pig dog. Also, the bit with the stuttering singing dog is pretty good. He actually sings pretty good when he stutters. But the leader gets pissed and beats him because more than likely he is annoyed by the stuttering. He probably doesn't know that singing and stuttering are very similar. But whatever, it leads to an entertaining ending. Overall, a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Buddy's Bug Hunt. This cartoon is another fucking weird one. It starts with Buddy hunting for bugs, but he is then pinned down by bugs, and they give him shrinking pills, and then he gets put on trial by the bugs for cruelty to bugs. But it is all revealed to be a dream that Buddy has. You know, this is actually kind of poetic. Buddy feels guilty for tormenting animals and sets them free. That is kind of a nice ending, or it would have been if it weren't for what happens next. Buddy's wooden hut then gets slammed and destroyed. Okay then. This is another one where I honestly don't know what this cartoon is trying to say, and for that I can't really recommend this one. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Buddy in Africa. Now we're back to the shitty formula with Buddy. Most of this cartoon is just a bunch of fucking monkeys singing and dancing, and just a bunch of the boring shit thrown in to make it even more banal. I noticed that they changed Buddy's voice in Buddy's Bug Hunt, and now it's going to be the new voice. It's a little bit more tolerable than the last one, I guess. Still, the cartoon has a climax with a monkey trying to beat up Buddy. That may sound pretty good, but it has a fucking lame ending. So it's just also goddamn worthless. You know this cartoon is bad when the only actually good element is the opening jingle for it. I've not mentioned this yet, but the opening jingle is actually really good and sounds really nice. Too bad it's followed by a bunch of boring and lame nonsense. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Country Mouse. This one is actually not that bad. Yeah, it starts out like another Merry Melodies cartoon, but the last portion of the cartoon actually makes it worth watching. It's about a mouse who wants to become a boxer. He actually gets into a boxing fight with a pig, and there are some fucking slapstick gags in the fight that are pretty decent. Sure, it has a fucking weird ending where the mother goes in and knocks the pig out and spanks her son, I guess for not fighting the pig. But hey, it's actually better than I expected. Not quite my favorite, but a breath of fresh air considering what I've been dealing with lately. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Buddy Steps Out. Just another typical fucking Buddy cartoon that has a return back to his original and annoying voice, dull bouncy gags, lame songs, flowery scenes and dialogue, blah blah blah. I'm really struggling to find anything new to say about these. At least Buddy in Africa fails in somewhat interesting ways. Like having a tribe that I can't tell if they're African tribes or monkeys, but this doesn't. Definitely not worth your time. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. The Merry Old Soul. This is a cartoon that I'm honestly shocked that the Hays Code did not have a problem with. It shows a king getting married only to find out that his house has been invaded by toddlers. Yeah, a good chunk of this cartoon is a baby factory cartoon, or in this case, a toddler factory. However, it does show that the king doesn't really enjoy what he's doing. In fact, the cartoon ends with the toddlers crying for the third goddamn time, and he starts crying. I think this cartoon is trying to say that marriage is not really freedom, and having children can lead to misery. It's a pretty good cartoon. Maybe not one that I would watch again, mainly due to the large portion that is kind of Baby Factory-esque, but it does serve a purpose that is honestly pretty fucking admirable. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Buddy the G-Man. This was the last Buddy cartoon ever made. And to be honest, it does not end on a low note, but not a very high note either. The story is about Buddy changing how a prison is run. But I think Buddy makes things a little too good. He allows singing and serves ice cream and lets inmates smoke cigars. In fact, it works so well that people actually want to go to prison. I don't know. I think prison is supposed to be a place that is not fun to go to because it is punishment for crimes. Buddy kind of misses the whole point of prison. To be honest, the only thing that is kind of fun is the ice cream. I found this cartoon hard to get invested in. That being said, this cartoon is better than I expected, but still not great. And I'm honestly fucking thrilled that I won't have to be dealing with Buddy anymore. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Lady in Red. There's really nothing special about this cartoon. It consists mainly of ants singing and dancing. I guess it is kind of interesting when the Lady in Red actually comes in, but the climax is just another bastard tormenting or kidnapping the love interest and getting his just desserts. Only this time it's not satisfying at all. Just another typical Merry Melodies cartoon with some nice colors and animation, but that is not enough for me to call this one good. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. A Cartoonist's Nightmare. This is actually a really good cartoon. It not only perfectly captures how it feels to have writer's block and being tired on the job, but it actually has a good song from the villains. I also really dig the fucking slapstick action in this cartoon. In fact, I also like how the cartoonist and his character Beans the Cat actually do their share of the fighting and help each other out. They make a surprisingly damn good team. While I'm not totally in love with how it is all revealed to be a fucking dream that the cartoonist has, it somehow gives him a creative way to end the cartoon he is working on. I guess sleeping on something really does help you to be more creative. This is the first good Looney Tunes cartoon in a long time. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Little Dutch Plate. This one has both good and bad things going for it. First of all, I really do like the story. It's like a better version of The Dish Ran Away with the Spoon. It consists of a salt boy falling in love with a woman, and a vinegar man tries to get her as well. It also has a pretty fucking good climactic scene with the boy and the vinegar man. However, it takes a page out of Those Wonderful Days and has the woman fall for the vinegar man. God damn it, why do these later cartoons with good climaxes have the hero not actually end up with the girl? Also, the music is pretty dopey. But I do like the running gag with the bird and the clock. It also helps that the last time it's used goes in a different direction. That is pretty fucking good. I would say overall it's a decent cartoon. Maybe not as good as the last one, but still worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Hollywood Capers. This one is a bit uneven, but I have to say it is still quite enjoyable. The beginning where Beans tries to sneak into Hollywood was pretty good. It was very entertaining. It kind of crawls in the middle with the singing and dancing which is older than Mancala at this point. Things pick up a little bit with the mechanical Frankenstein, but even the climax is not nearly as good as the one in A Cartoonist's Nightmare. Although I really do like the ending punchline. Oh, and I will say, while Beans is not the greatest, I wouldn't say Beans is on the same level as Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck or anything like that. I will say I actually do really like Beans, and he's a much better character than Buddy. It's a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Gold Diggers of 49. This is the best Western cartoon yet. I like the story of Beans being a prospector in 1849 digging for gold. I like the gag when the pigs dig 2 holes. One of them has gold and another behind him, and he ends up reaching into his pocket. And all the while he doesn't know that it is the same piece of gold. The climax when Beans is chasing down the guy who stole the bag is really fucking good. It has plenty of Western shootouts and creative cartoon gags. The ending is actually pretty fucking good too. It is revealed that the bags Beans was chasing was the pig's lunch, but the pig seems pretty happy with it. Overall, a good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Billboard Frolics. This cartoon is another one that starts out with a bunch of music-based gags and arbitrarily shoehorns in a climax. However, there are some things that I like about it. This cartoon has a familiar melody. I say this because it is the melody that would be used as an opening jingle for many of the later Merry Melodies cartoons. You know, it's the da 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 da. Yeah, that is where that melody originated. Very fucking fascinating. Also, the climax with the cat chasing the bird for no reason is pretty entertaining. I also like how the cat was able to outwit the dog sent to stop him. You can actually draw a lot of meaning from that. I won't say it's amazing, but it's a decent watch. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Flowers for Madame. This one is honestly not that great. It starts out pretty boring with a lot of the singing and dancing that is present in many of these early cartoons. I am so sick of this shit that I just end up tuning out when it comes up. You would think the race would be where the cartoon really starts going, but that plot point is dropped almost as soon as it's introduced. The last half of the cartoon consists of a fire attempting to burn the whole garden down, and the flowers and insects work together to put it out. It is a little bit better than everything beforehand. I actually got into it a little bit, but the cartoon as a whole, despite the good ideas, comes across as an unfocused mess. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. I Want to Play House. This one has some of that cynicism that is just aching to come out of Looney Tunes slash Merry Melodies. It has some fucking fighting between two bear cubs, and a big bear spanks his cub when he throws a rock at him. And when he thinks he, drank cider. Also, a black bear cub drinks cider. No, not apple cider, but alcoholic cider. It is pretty clear that it is alcoholic. It's the alcoholic kind, because he becomes all tipsy and starts singing a song when he is supposed to be playing hide and seek. While I won't say this cartoon is especially on the same level as the later cartoons, I really do appreciate the effort to move away from all the saccharine shit from previous Merry Melodies cartoons. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Phantom Ship. I really do like the premise for this one. It has Beans as an airplane pilot who flies to a ship that has buried gold in it. His nephews also sneak into the plane, and he has to deal with him. And he has to deal with them. But what keeps this from being one of the better Looney Tunes cartoons is that the climax is pretty fucking weak. Not much actual fighting, and the gags are almost non-existent. That being said, this cartoon has a good amount of charm and adventure that is definitely admirable. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Cat Came Back. This is actually a pretty good cartoon. It's about a cat and a mouse who are taught to stay away from each other, but the other's kind ends up becoming friends. While dancing to some music, the cat accidentally falls into a drain, and the mouse has to save him, which devolves into a pretty entertaining climax. But what really makes this cartoon good is the ending punchline. It shows that maybe cats and mice will always be enemies, or that it will take a long time before they become friends. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Boom Boom. This one is not quite as good as Bosco the Doughboy or Dumb Patrol, but it has its moments. I like half of the dark jokes in the beginning, but what I really do like is the climax, when Beans and Porky try to rescue a general captured by the enemy. Sure, I would have liked there to be if there was more action, but it leads to a very fucking satisfying ending where things work out pretty well for all three of our heroes. There are better war cartoons out there, but this one has a little bit of charm to it. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Page Miss Glory. This is another one that is actually not bad. There are a lot of parts where the cartoon stops and just has singing, but I really do like the imagery of alcohol during the song Page Miss Glory. Also, the ending has some pretty decent gags. Particularly the elevator gag is pretty damn good. Even the ending punchline is kind of funny. The bellhop expects Miss Glory to be some important woman, yet she is actually a little kid. Not the greatest, but still pretty good. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Alpine Antics. This one starts out like one of the earlier Looney Tunes cartoons with singing, but it gets going when Beans gets into a ski race against some beefy bastard. The gag where the guy blows Beans away from him and the turtle fires a gun is pretty good, and a cruel one too. The race itself is kind of entertaining, although the most memorable part about it is when the beefy bastard outright derails racers. Even though Beans gets off to a bad start, he does end up winning the race, although the cartoon ends on a pretty bizarre note. Then again, a lot of Looney Tunes cartoons do. Overall, it's decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Fire Alarm. Believe it or not, this cartoon is actually pretty good. Beans is a firefighter who has to watch over his nephews again. But this time, his nephews are outright fucking dickheads to him. They cause all sorts of trouble and even pull the fire alarm for no reason, causing the firefighters to get in the fire truck and drive off to nothing. They even steal the fire truck and destroy a lot of shit again for no reason. But it all ends with Beans being rightfully pissed and spanking them to no end. I would say go ahead and spank the shit out of them. It seems like those kids are going out of their way to fuck with him. Very satisfying. The ending makes this a really good cartoon and very satisfying, and I so wish was more available. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Blowout. This is a really fucking good cartoon. It has great use of dramatic irony. Basically, Porky is helping people so he can earn enough money to eat an ice cream soda. However, he runs into a criminal and tries constantly to give him back his clock. For a while, he doesn't know that the criminal doesn't want to be anywhere near his clock because it is an explosive clock that will detonate in a little bit. And he put the clock by a building specifically to blow it up. By the end of it, Porky inadvertently becomes a hero by sending the clock into the fucking police car just as it's about to blow up. I say he more than fucking earned all the ice cream soda he can eat. The way the cartoon ends is outright genius. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. I'm a big shot now. This is a surprisingly good Merry Melodies cartoon. It features lots of birds and lots of shooting. A fucking weird combination, but it works. The gangster bird that sings the song in this one is given pretty much no redeeming qualities. He robs a bank, really just to be tough, and is pretty satisfying to see him suffer. The gag with the police shooting and being bounced back in the car is a pretty good one. Overall, one of the better Merry Melodies cartoons out there. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Westward Woe. Another pretty good cartoon. I mean, it starts off with Beans' nephews fucking with everyone again, with tricks for no good reason. Mainly yelling at Indians when there are no Indians. But once the Indians actually start attacking them, nobody believes them because, well, they have no reason to be trusted. But once they realize they're serious, they fight the Indians off in a pretty fucking entertaining climax with some decent gags. Another pretty good Western cartoon. The ending is kind of weird, but not in a bad way. This was the last cartoon to feature Beans, and I'm honestly gonna miss him. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Plain Dippy. This one starts out like it's going to be a cartoon about Porky trying to join the Air Force and not being able to join, and basically being demoted to a janitor. However, the second half of it becomes much better. It revolves around a robot plane that basically runs on commands. The whole joke is that two people have a dog and they give him commands to the dog, but it's near a microphone and gives the commands to the robot plane. Porky is in the robot plane. So basically everything the dog does, the plane does. It's actually a pretty damn clever joke. After all that, Porky ends up joining the army. There is some subtext that could imply that maybe flying isn't really Porky's thing, and the cartoon is saying that maybe the option you ignored previously might actually fit you better. While the climax is not that great, the second half of it makes it a decent watch. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Let It Be Me. I'm not the biggest fan of the premise of this one. It is about a famous chicken singer who is very desirable to female chickens. He ends up stealing the girlfriend of a black male chicken, only to fall in love with a French chicken. I guess it is interesting that this cartoon comments on how famous male singers who become popular with women are not who you think they are. And in fact, they can be total dickheads. But overall, being an aromantic single who has never had a girlfriend in his entire life, I can't really enjoy this cartoon. Especially since the very last scene is pretty bad, to be quite honest. Not totally bad, but not one that I would revisit anytime soon. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. I'd love to take orders from you. I guess it's kind of interesting that this cartoon is about scarecrows, but I find this cartoon way too fucking saccharine for me to enjoy. It really feels like one of those family shows from the 1950s. I actually do like the song, and the climax was mildly entertaining, but that's not enough for me to call this cartoon good. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Fish Tales. This one is so fucking bizarre, I don't even know what to say about it. Making something weird is a fine line to straddle from being endearing to off-putting. This one starts out as the former, but most of it is the latter. I guess it is a cartoon you have to have a specific taste to enjoy, and unfortunately it's not a taste that I have. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Bingo Crosby-Anna. This one feels like a throwback to some of the earlier Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons, only with bugs. What I mean is that it has a lot of the dull and bouncy music-based gags and there is hardly any plot. It even has a climax with some bastard bug kidnapping a female, and the male bug main character tries to stop him. Only this time he barely fights him. I guess the part where the bug flies around was pretty good, but overall, I don't like the formula. I don't think this is a formula that is worth bringing back. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Shanghaied Shipmates. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. I love the pirate theme. I also like the whole story of Porky and the crew of a ship getting angry over the treatment of the captain. They are righteously pissed at him because the captain is an outright bastard when Porky is trying to work. He also eats all the meat and gives only the bones to the crew members. It makes it all the more satisfying when the crew finally starts beating the shit out of him and blowing up the ship. This is catharsis at its absolute fucking best. While I would have liked there to be more fighting, I still enjoyed this cartoon quite a bit. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. When I Yoo-Hoo. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. The shootouts between the Weavers and the Matthews is pretty fucking good. I really do like the boner gun gag. Even when the cockfight to get a side to win begins, there are some decent fighting gags between the chickens. But when it ends with a draw, both the Weavers and the Matthews get pissed and start fighting each other. This proves that getting the chickens to fight for each side was a bad idea. I like this cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Porky's Pet. So the premise of this one is that Porky and his pet chicken get a chance to go on Broadway when they take a train ride. However, the train does not allow pets, so Porky tries to get his pet on board without the conductor discovering. But of course, that is easier said than done. There's some decent comedy surrounding this, and the cartoon has a little bit of charm. Even the ending is satisfying. I wouldn't say this is the best of what we looked at so far, but it's a decent short. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. I Love to Singa. This is a decent cartoon. This could be a reflection of how parents initially hate the music that their children get into, but eventually start to like it and try to help their children explore that passion. I think jazz is a perfect genre choice, considering many people disliked jazz at the time. While the character is named Owl Jolson, he sounds nothing like Owl Jolson, which he is based on. Yeah, I've actually heard Owl Jolson sing in The Jazz Singer, but I've never seen the movie in its entirety. I would not call this my favorite cartoon, but it has some strong elements to it that makes it worth seeing at least once, one of which is actually the song I Love to Singa. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky the Rainmaker. This one has a lot of charm to it. It has a pretty good story about a drought and Porky trying to make it rain. Literally, not figuratively. It has some decent gags revolving around various weather pills, but the ending makes it all worthwhile. The rain pill actually works and lets the crops in the farm that Porky works grow. It really goes to show that after so much sunshine, it is refreshing to have some rain. Even the very last gag does not in any fucking way ruin the great moment. It is really good. It's really good. You should watch it. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Sunday Go to Mean Time. Here we have another one of the censored 11. I have to say it's a little bit more racist than Hidden the Trail for Hallelujah Land, but there's no way you're ever going to be going to heaven on a mule in terms of racism. But even ignoring the racism, I do not like this cartoon. What kills my enjoyment of this cartoon is the fucking religious themes. This cartoon seems to think that if you don't go to church, and if you kill and eat chickens, then you are a fucking horrible person that will go to hell. It is not, nor should it be, that simple. People seem to be brainwashed into thinking that there is things that are universally right and wrong. Well, I woke up. I don't think this cartoon is as bad as Going to Heaven on a Mule, but it's still a shit cartoon that I just never want to watch again. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Porky's Poultry Plant. This cartoon starts out pretty boring with a bunch of the bouncy fucking gags centered around chickens, but the second half of it has Porky fighting some chicken hawks, and that part is actually pretty damn entertaining. I especially love that Porky uses a shotgun and uses a fighter airplane to take down the chicken hawks. Sure, I'm not totally in love with the ending, but I think this cartoon is way better than the last one. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. At Your Service, Madame. This one is honestly not that great. I found it a little too flowery and dopey for my liking. I do like the voice of the male pig that tries to marry the widow pig, and I do like the ending gag. However, the climax is pretty lame, and to be honest, I am not a fan of the story as a whole. I would not call this cartoon horrible, but I also would not say it's one of the better Merry Melodies cartoons. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Moving Day. This is actually a pretty good cartoon. It has some really fucking good gags, including some slapstick and actually a good running gag where the monkey assistant keeps saying, "Okay, boss." I also have to ask, how the fuck did the cow think it was a good idea to establish her house at the edge of a cliff? If the waves get big enough, they will flood the house. I guess that's why Porky decided to get rid of all the shit that is in her house. It also has another ending that is so goddamn bizarre, but I love it. I really enjoyed this one. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Toy Town Hall. This is a cartoon centered around the radio. I guess it makes sense because radio was just becoming popular at the time, but I don't really like this cartoon. First of all, the main character is a toddler and has a really fucking annoying voice, which is already a turnoff. But the cartoon features toys just singing along to other Merry Melody songs, most of which are some of the weaker ones. The only good ones are the Billboard Frolics and My Green Fedora. Even then, this is just another cartoon with very little substance, and the ending is really fucking bad. So yeah, not the biggest fan of this one. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Milk and Money. This one doesn't have an interesting plot. It's more of the whole thing where a farm is about to be foreclosed and Porky's father has to win some money in order to be able to run it. The person who tells him about it is a pretty sinister bastard. I guess it has a few funny gags, but most of it is just Porky trying to make some money. But there is this bee that tries to constantly get a horse named Dobbin to get moving, which is weird, but I guess it works. But the ending is pretty meh, to be quite honest. Not the worst cartoon, but it doesn't really have anything truly special about it. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Boulevard Deer from the Bronx. This cartoon is not that bad. I mean, I still wouldn't call this all good, but there are some elements that I do like. Some of the baseball related gags are pretty good, like how even when a chicken slowly throws a ball when pitching, the batter manages to strike out. But the thing I like most about the cartoon is the ending. The chicken that sings the song Dizzy Dan and for this cartoon is shown to be more desirable to a female chicken, and the black chicken is envious of him. The ending actually has the black chicken win the baseball game, and it knocks Dan down a peg. You could argue that this cartoon shows the dark side of having too much pride, and that even if you are good at everything, you can't win all the time. The main issue I have with this one is that the beginning is kind of boring. Overall, a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Don't Look Now. Valentine's Day is my least favorite holiday, so it's almost by nature that I can't enjoy a Valentine's Day cartoon. I actually relate more to the devil kid who is trying to ruin people's love. He says that Valentine's Day is a sissy holiday, and he's not entirely wrong. But I kind of like the energy this cartoon has. It is pretty fucking wild. But maybe too wild, because the ending is really bizarre. It's not a bad cartoon, but the whole concept of it is kind of a turnoff for me. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Little Bo Porky. This is actually a pretty good cartoon. It's basically Bo Bosco with Porky, but I don't give a damn. I enjoyed Bo Bosco. This one is much better than Buddy of the Legion. It has some really good gags. The part when Oli Mode tries to say he's a poor little sheep, but Porky looks out the window and sees that Oli Mode is owed and immediately sees through his bullshit. Also, the climax is really fucking good, with some pretty great slapstick gags and fighting. I'm glad we finally got a good Looney Tunes cartoon because I've not gotten them lately, if you have noticed. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Coconut Grove. This is another cartoon that is full of random gags that don't really have anything to do with each other. But credit where it's due, the beginning and ending are the best parts of it. The beginning has many characters from previous Merry Melodies cartoons make an appearance, like the pig from At Your Service, Madame, and I really like the line from the man with the tuxedo. He says, "I go everywhere and I do anything and I never have any fun." That is unfortunately becoming more and more true for me. But I also do like the bit with the Tarzan guy. The middle admittedly kind of crawls, but with some pretty fucking weak gags. But the ending with the woman singing a really sad song about missing her lover is genuinely beautiful and heartbreaking. While not the best, it's still worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Village Smithy, another cartoon that is at least checking out once. I bet the beginning inspired the cartoon Duck Amuck, which we will get to later, because it has a very similar type of gags to that cartoon. Anyway, it has some decent slapstick. Maybe not the greatest, but still pretty good. The ending gag wherein Porky accidentally slips and loses his horseshoe and the horse runs off and causes a bunch of mayhem is pretty good too. I even like when the horse runs back to the farm and does everything in reverse. That is a pretty fucking clever gag. There were some parts that were kind of boring, but I did manage to enjoy myself quite a bit with this cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky in the North Woods. This one feels like an anti-hunting cartoon. I say this because Porky plays a ranger that forbids shooting, trapping, and fishing in his park. I would say only trapping the animals is cruel. The person who breaks all the rules is portrayed as a beefy dickhead with no redeeming qualities. While I kind of do like the slapstick at the end, I can't really get behind this cartoon story, especially since the animals have pretty fucking annoying voices. Not the worst cartoon ever, but still not one of my favorites. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. He Was Her Man. This is a cartoon that is clearly a victim of its time. I did feel sorry for the female mouse until she asked for her lover Johnny back. Why the fuck would she want him back? He's an abusive, money-grubbing bastard with no redeeming qualities. Not even the part where they do the reverse of him selling apples and her laying in the house is satisfying because she is still clearly with him. I bet the only reason they did it is because of that fucking Hays Code. And one of the rules in there is they didn't want the sanctity of marriage to be violated. When are people going to ever get it to their thick fucking skulls that if a significant other continually abuses you, that person is not worth living with? Honestly, this whole thing alone is why I absolutely hate this cartoon. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Porky the Wrestler. This one has a good idea, but it's not executed the best. The first half is boring and mindless trite. Not a single laugh out loud moment. When the wrestling match begins, it's a little bit better, but not by much. There are not really any good wrestling moves or even cartoonishly funny ones. Instead, you get some boring gags about trains, and the only remotely good wrestling move comes at the end. I feel like this cartoon should be way funnier than it actually is. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Pigs is Pigs. This is a pretty fucking confusing one. I guess it was done to show the effects of overeating. It focuses on a pig who loves eating way too much. but he has a nightmare that he is being force-fed a bunch of food from a sinister bastard. But it ends with him jumping at the chance to eat breakfast and doesn't seem to be affected by the nightmare at all. If anything, the ending contradicts what it's trying to get across. Look, overeating food is bad, and you will pretty much fucking die if you overeat. But I didn't need this cartoon to tell me that. But that's assuming that was the whole point of the cartoon to begin with, because it's just really confusing. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Porky's Road Race. This one feels more like a compilation of random gags than a story about Porky trying to win a race. Now, for what it's worth, many of the jokes are actually pretty funny. There are some decent slapstick ones, and I do like how the cars zip by to the musical sound that goes like this. Da 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 da. Sure, it's followed by a pretty racially insensitive joke, but the other joke is good, so I will let that slide. Also, the cartoon has a really fucking weird ending, but overall it's a decent racing cartoon that has an unconventional way of doing things. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Picador Porky. This one is also not that bad. The beginning gag is really fucking good. It presents the Mexican town as a tranquil place when it is really loud and actually quite a lot of fun to be in. While the whole section of preparing for the bullfight was pretty boring, once the bullfight begins, it actually has some decent gags, including one that I swear was the inspiration for one in the Pink Panther short, Bully for Pink. The ending is kind of weird. Whether that's a good or bad thing is completely up to you, but it's a fine cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. I Only Have Eyes for You. Another cartoon about love. Oh, what a thrill. A bird goes after a girl who only loves crooners, yet he is not a crooner, so he gets a ventriloquist to sing for him as he lip syncs to get this girl. Of course, she finds out instantly and marries the ventriloquist, and the main character ends up with another bird, so I guess it all worked out in the end. Yeah, when a girl only goes for men who are crooners, the bitch ain't worth it. I guess it's better than he was her man, but not by much. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Fellow with the Fiddle. I'm starting to notice a pattern with a lot of these Merry Melodies cartoons from this era. It's like they're trying to introduce themes, but the stories they tell actively contradict the themes they're presenting. Maybe they're trying to say that there's no straightforward answers in life, but it really feels like they are earnestly trying to say something direct, and they're just bad at it. In this case, they're trying to say, don't be a greedy bastard. However, the only real bad thing that the mouse does is pretend to be poor, but in reality he's rich. However, the cat outright plays tricks on the mouse, and for no other reason than to fuck with him. The cat plays on the mouse's love for money, but how did the cat know about that mouse? And how did he know that money is what he loved? Even as the grandpa tells the story, discouraging the little mice's pursuit of gold, a mouse notices a chain on the grandpa's clothes and blows a party horn. That is a weird ending, and it really makes the grandpa come off as a hypocrite. I like this one better than Pigs is Pigs, but like that one, I don't know what the point of this one even is. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Romance. Wow, I'm shocked that I actually kind of like this cartoon. In fact, this is another one that I'm surprised that the Hays Code let slide. Anyway, it's about Porky trying to win the affections of a female pig. This would be the first appearance of Petunia Pig. He tries his best to win her. She rejects him until she finds that he has candy. After Petunia laughs at Porky's misfortune later on, Porky becomes depressed and attempts suicide. But then he has a dream that suggests that maybe Petunia won't be that great of a person to marry. You know, it makes a damn good case for why that may be. Now, eating candies constantly is not what makes Petunia a cunt, but making him do all the fucking work is definitely why. If I had to wash dishes constantly and have to deal with a ton of annoying fucking kids, I probably would have divorced my wife ASAP. It ends with Porky not wanting anything to do with Petunia. This cartoon is ahead of its time in many ways. It's under the mentality of if you don't want to get married and have kids, you don't have to go down that route. After all the romance cartoons I have to deal with, this is a breath of fresh air. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. She Was an Acrobat's Daughter. This one is a bit uneven. The beginning starts out with gags that are not really that funny. But when the song She Was an Acrobat's Daughter comes, the cartoon actually gets better. The song itself is pretty fucking good. But when the cartoon begins, the jokes actually start getting better. I won't say they're as good as later cartoons, but it's pretty relatable. What I mean is that the movie the audience is watching has a man stutter endlessly, and the little duck asks, "Why is he saying that?" He actually has a good point. The cartoon ends with the duck going crazy with the film projector, and to be honest, it's more interesting than the movie the characters are watching. Who knew? Not the best cartoon, but still pretty enjoyable. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky's Duck Hunt. This cartoon is so fucking good. This is the first cartoon to feature Daffy Duck. He honestly steals the show. I really like his zany personality. But even the gags revolving around Porky trying to shoot some ducks are pretty creative and funny. My personal favorite is the fourth wall break joke. This is when Porky tries to get the duck, but Daffy replaces it with a dog, and Porky says, "Hey, that wasn't in the script." In many ways, this would foreshadow the many times Looney Tunes would break the fourth wall. The only part of this cartoon I don't like is the fish singing. The joke of them hiccuping during the song is not that funny, and the song itself is pretty fucking dopey. But I really do like the ending gag. Overall, this one is a real gem. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Ain't We Got Fun? Believe it or not, I actually like this cartoon. It is actually more about a cat who has an owner that is fucking abusive toward him and blaming him for shit that we know he didn't do. That is until the owner finds out that the cat is trying to protect his owner from mice who are eating all the owner's food. But what makes it work is that instead of getting sad, the cat is all like, "Good riddance. I don't want to live with you anymore." Even when the owner says, "No, no, no, no. Oh, it was those mice. It was those mice. You can live with me again." The cat refuses. He only comes back when the mice mock him viciously. He fucking pounces on them and tries to eat them. The owner even lets the cat sleep on his chair. It is such a fucking satisfying ending. Oh, and the song Ain't We Got Fun is really good. This is honestly a really good cartoon that I struggle to find anything bad to say about. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Porky and Gabby. This is a cartoon featuring Porky and Gabby going on a camping trip, and their camping trip goes comically wrong. But it is pretty fucking funny with some great slapstick gags. I have to say, Gabby is a pretty fucking great character. He doesn't even want to go on the trip. I can relate to not wanting to go on an outing. He does have a similar voice to Daffy Duck. Although I'm starting to see that Porky is getting outclassed in his own cartoons now. The side characters are starting to steal the show, which is odd. But overall, this is a pretty good one. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Clean Pastures. This is another one of the censored 11. Yeah, I won't deny that this one has some pretty racist moments and gags, like one of the angels being an aggravatingly slow and dumb motherfucker. But I have to say, this is probably better than the previous censored 11 cartoons. I wouldn't say it's good, but there are some aspects I do like about it, most of which come in the second half of the cartoon. It has the angels play jazz music to get people to paradise. How is this relevant? Well, jazz back in the day was seen as such evil music, which is total bullshit. It's music. This cartoon had the fucking balls to stand up and say that. But the ending shot of a man with devil horns actually getting a halo. This could be a commentary on universalism. While the pacing and racist gags keep me from calling this good, it has some really strong elements that are worth bringing up. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Uncle Tom's Bungalow. God damn it, another one of the censored 11? I just didn't expect to review another one so soon. Anyway, this one is moderately racist. While the portrayals of blackface characters are pretty cringy and the characters themselves are good, but the characters themselves are good guys, so it remedies it somewhat. But if you take the themes out of this cartoon, it's just not very engaging. I do like how the narrator is pretty much a character in the short film. But overall, I feel like this cartoon should be funnier than it is. Also, the ending is by nature a bad ending. Uncle Tom basically gives the money to the villain, and all he can think of is rolling the dice to get more money. How the hell is that a good ending? I guess the chase before the ending is kind of entertaining, but it's not enough for me to call this one good. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Building. This is a pretty good cartoon. It has a pretty simple concept, but the gags are really fucking good. Probably the best one is when an animal who is trying to blow up some dynamite can't do it with a bunch of people around them. So he tricks them into coming toward the dynamite and goes over to set off the dynamite. So yeah, they all get blown up. It is so fucking macabre, but I love it. The parts when Porky and the rabbit are trying to get more stories built from being surpassed by Dirty Dig is genuinely nail-biting and hilarious. I'm just gonna say it, Mel Blanc is much better at voicing Porky than the other guy. But yeah, this is a pretty good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Streamlined Greta Green. This is another weird one. The characters all being sentient cars is actually the least weird thing about this cartoon. You would think this cartoon is about a little car wanting to become a taxi car, but that plotline is dropped for a bunch of random sections in the city involving that car, and the car never talks about being a taxi again. He then drinks an orange drink, which may or may not be a metaphor for alcohol, but then he continually tries to race a train while going really fast. I don't know, I guess for fun. But still, but he still wants to do it even after getting severely injured. This cartoon ends with getting a less severe injury, with him getting a less severe injury. What I'm trying to say is that it's one of those cartoons where I go, what the fuck did I just watch? Now, is it entertaining? Well, the train parts are, but only mildly. Most of the rest of the cartoon is honestly pretty lame, to be quite honest. It's like an acid trip that's not on acid, if that makes any sense. This cartoon can't decide whether it wants to tell jokes or have a story, and I honestly wouldn't mind either one. There's nothing to get mad at per se, but there's also nothing to engage you either. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Sweet Sue. Okay, ignoring the Native American stereotypes, this cartoon is pretty boring. It's not that funny and there's almost no plot. It gets a little bit more interesting with the final part with the Native Americans running around the cowboy, and this is actually the first appearance of the merry-go-round broke down. But I'm not even sure who I'm supposed to root for. The cartoon didn't exactly make that clear. I don't think this cartoon is bad, but it's still not that great. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Super Service. This one I'm kinda mixed on. While there are some really fucking good gags revolving around Porky being tormented by a really annoying and spiteful baby trying to ruin his gas station job. Oh, and a really good one when Porky tells the driver that he has a flat tire and the driver says, "Why doesn't anybody tell me these things?" Hilarious. The ending is really fucking weird and not satisfying. And honestly, not even really funny. It's just kind of a moment where I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling. It really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But for all the good moments, I guess it's hard not to recommend this cartoon. Yeah, the ending is bad, but it doesn't really it doesn't take away any of the good elements. At least not entirely. So it's worth seeing at least once. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Egghead Rides Again. This one is kind of disappointing. It has a good idea. It's about a man trying to get work in Wyoming as a cowboy, but it is brought down by some pretty weak gags that are not that funny. I'm starting to notice that Merry Melodies is starting to abandon its roots from mostly being focused on music-based gags and starting to be almost a carbon copy of Looney Tunes. Now, that is pretty fucking confusing, and I may have been fine with it if it weren't for the fact that a lot of the Merry Melodies jokes are starting out pretty lame, to be quite honest. The climax is a little bit exciting, and the voice acting is actually pretty good, to be quite honest. The ending starts out beautiful, only to have a twist that completely ruins any kind of charm that this cartoon might have had. There are better Western cartoons from Looney Tunes / Merry Melodies. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Bad Time Story. This is a fucking great cartoon. Porky and Gabby are a wonderful comedic duo. But as for the cartoon itself, it is very relatable. It does really capture the pain of trying to get enough sleep at night and having all this noise that can really fuck up your sleep cycle. I feel their pain. It also captures what it's like to wake up really early in the morning. But the twist is so good that I'm not going to spoil it. You have to watch the cartoon for yourself. This cartoon is just really good. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Plenty of Money in You. This is another one that I'm not the biggest fan of. The first 5 minutes are pretty damn boring. The gags are not that funny, and the story is about a big chicken who was one of the eggs of a black chicken and gets up to some not even crazy shenanigans, but just weird and kind of lame shenanigans. The last portion of the cartoon is better, mainly because it features a weasel that is the only character in this cartoon that has actual dialogue. That is pretty fascinating. Yeah, he is portrayed as a villain, but I actually ended up rooting for him, considering the chicken is such a boring protagonist, and well, I like to eat chickens. Admittedly, the way the chicken gets out of the oven is pretty clever, but the ending gag is so fucking weird and not that funny. So overall, not one of the better Merry Melodies cartoons. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Railroad. This is another pretty good Porky cartoon. I love trains, so I know I'm going to fucking love this one. But it also has some decent gags. The most memorable one is when the camera points to an almost like a view from an airplane and focuses on the train as the train splits up. As the train cars split up. But they come back together. I also like the fact that the fire shaft only has a candle in it. So what does Porky use to make the train go fast? Pepper. It actually works because the sentient train sneezes. Get it? Achoo, choo choo. Fucking genius. The race between Porky and Spikes is pretty entertaining, but the reward for Porky winning the race is not what I expected. It's a good one. You should watch it. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. A Sonnet Blue. This seems like a throwback to the old Merry Melodies cartoons, where it's just a bunch of singing and dancing. The only really funny gags are the ones with the three Rats brothers. There was some actual humor in there, and they have real good energy to them. I honestly wouldn't mind if the whole short was about them. But no, it's more about a male mouse having his girl get kidnapped by a rat bastard. But this time the climax is probably the lamest of all of them so far. He doesn't even fight the rat. The only other joke is the reusing of, "Why doesn't anybody tell me these things?" But it was funnier when it was first told. I know I sound a bit incoherent when talking about this cartoon, but that's because this whole cartoon feels like it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It doesn't even know if it wants to tell a story or not. The only real conflict comes toward the end, and even that ends on a weird and not very satisfying note. Maybe if it just committed to telling a story or had it be a compilation of vaudeville gags, maybe it would work a lot better, but as is, I can't say I enjoyed this one that much. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Get Rich Quick Porky. This cartoon is ahead of its time. While it's not that funny and pretty aggravating to watch, it does have an interesting subtext that makes me feel like it was done that way for a reason. It's about a dog who makes Porky and Gabby work with oil to get $1 million. Porky and Gabby find that working in the construction site and trying to stop the oil from spilling is a pretty shitty job. They aren't really accomplishing anything, and it's unclear what they're supposed to do. In a bitter twist of irony, they were led to believe that they were scammed, but by the time they realized that it wasn't a scam, someone else got the money. This could almost be a commentary on how fake the whole concept of motivations and rewards are. If we have to do work that makes us miserable to make a decent amount of money, or even a really good amount of money, it is framed not by life, but our economic system. I can't act like this was the intent, but like any intriguing piece of art, what it reflects is even more fascinating. I enjoy this cartoon, but in a more abstract way. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Speaking of the weather, It's another one of these cartoons that features magazines coming to life. I will say it's funnier than the last one I watched, which was I Like Mountain Music. There were some jokes that actually did get a laugh out of me. The song Speaking of the Weather is pretty good too. There is virtually no plot, but that's because none of these types of cartoons have a plot. It's entertaining while you're watching it. It's not the greatest cartoon, but still pretty good. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Porky's Garden. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. The story's not all that engaging. It's just about Porky and some man with chickens trying to win first prize for their gardens in some carnival game. But the thing is, the gags are just not that great. I didn't find it all that funny. I don't know what it is, but this cartoon is just kind of off. I didn't really get pissed off at this cartoon, but I just didn't enjoy it that much either. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just sort of a big nothing. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Dog Days. This cartoon is pretty bad. It mostly revolves around dogs doing vaudeville acts, but none of them are entertaining or funny. The music is pretty fucking bad too. For some reason, it keeps cutting back to this booze hound that barks like he's drunk. But the joke fails because there are dogs in real life that bark like that. Also, there's this one dog who does this Mary Had a Little Lamb poem in a fucking annoying voice. I get the feeling that he doesn't even want to do it because he says, "This is silly." Yeah, it's silly. Why don't you do something else? This cartoon also has an ending where it feels like whoever came up with the story for this just gave up. There's no point in watching this cartoon unless you're doing what I'm doing. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. I Want to Be a Sailor. This one is actually not that bad. It's about a parrot who doesn't want a cracker, but instead wants to be a sailor. Only problem is that his mother doesn't want him to be a sailor because his father was a sailor and left them. But not even that discourages him from wanting to be a sailor. If you have ever had dreams that your parents discouraged you from having, this will hit home for you. I do really like the rhythm this cartoon has when the parrot becomes a pirate and sets off to Treasure Island and starts rapping. But it leads to a pretty fucking dangerous storm, which makes the canary helping him call him a pussy. When the mother rescues him, he still wants to be a sailor. This kind of reminds me of how people know that their hobby is dangerous, but they still want to pursue it because it just makes them feel good. What do you do with a child like that? I would encourage them to pursue that hobby. But, that's just me. I will admit, I would have liked to have a cartoon that had more to do with Treasure Island. I felt that was kind of a missed opportunity, but what we have instead is fine too. Not the greatest, but much better than the last one. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Rover's Rival. This is a pretty damn good cartoon. It revolves around Porky trying to get his aging dog Rover to do things for him. But a younger dog believes that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. This cartoon is the response to that claim. It has some pretty good gags, including a pretty dark one at the end with the dynamite. Part of the fun is figuring out if Rover still has it in him to do anything that a dog can do. But I assure you, it is well worth finding out. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Lion Mouse. This one is weird and dull. It is about a mouse trying to convince a cat not to eat him. To do this, he tells the story of the lion and the mouse. I've not read the story of the lion and the mouse, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it's just not that entertaining. And the mouse has a really fucking annoying voice. Considering the title is The Lion Mouse, I found that the ending twist to be the most predictable twist ever. I wouldn't necessarily call this one bad. It has a few moments that I enjoy, albeit in the most clinical way. The animation is pretty good and colorful, but overall, not one that I would revisit anytime soon. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Case of the Stuttering Pig. This is a pretty great one. I fucking love the story. It has a dark and gothic atmosphere, which I very much dig. The idea of an ant that promises fortune from the pig's uncle only to find that she turns into a demented monster is pretty good and fucking terrifying. Even as the nephews get taken away from the monster, Porky is still unafraid and even tries to comfort Petunia. The jokes, while few, are actually pretty good. Overall, this is a really good short film. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Little Red Walking Hood. This is a pretty interesting take on the Little Red Riding Hood story. It has the wolf actually try to hit on Little Red Riding Hood. In many ways, this cartoon is ahead of its fucking time, because the wolf is kind of a nice guy. You know, the kind that have some bizarre entitlement to women because they claim they're really nice, but in reality, they're just fucking jerks. But the cartoon follows the story much more closely later on, except for the fight between Red Riding Hood and the wolf, with the first audience member joke. It also turns out that the little man who has been randomly showing up and whistling turns out to be the hero of the short. I wouldn't call this one good, mainly because I never liked the Little Red Riding Hood story, to be quite honest, but I did have some fun with it. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky's Double Trouble. This one is actually pretty good. It's about a criminal pig wreaking havoc and trying to frame Porky by infiltrating the bank he works at and impersonating him. It has some pretty fucking good gags with some very nice slapstick and shooting, which has oddly been pretty fucking absent lately. One aspect that I like is that the criminal tries to hit on Petunia. She initially refuses his advances, but later on, in a bitter twist of irony, she ends up falling in love with the criminal. I would normally be pissed at the end, but considering Petunia's first appearance, I think this is something that this version of Petunia would do. So overall, a good short film. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Woods Are Full of Cuckoos. It's another collection of random gags, but mixed in with some elements of the early Merry Melodies cartoons. As for the gags themselves, they vary on how funny they are. Some of them were really good, but some of them were kind of weak. The song The Woods Are Full of Cuckoos is one of the lamer Merry Melodies songs. I will say I may have found this one decent if the ending was not so weak. As is, this one is just kind of mediocre, and that's all I can really say about it. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's Hero Agency. This is another cartoon with a good concept that is not really taken advantage of. The idea of Porky wanting to be a Greek hero and dreaming about what it would be like to be one is a pretty fucking good idea for a cartoon, but the execution is just weird. It devolves into random gags that are not really that funny. Even the Three Stooges joke was not that good. The one in The Miller's Daughter was better. Although one thing that caught my attention was there was this one character in the Greek temple who had an audience of statues, and he was controlling how they clapped and cheered. He then asked if they were with him. He would play sound effects making them say yes or something. This kind of implies that nobody agrees with him, and the only people that do are not real. It's actually kind of depressing to watch. I often feel like that sometimes. I guess the climax is batshit insane, but even that's not one of the best ones that I've seen. The ending is also pretty fucking lame. Not one of the better Porky cartoons. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. September in the Rain. It's another one of these pictures of store labels coming to life cartoons. Out of all the ones that I've seen so far, this is the weakest one. There are no interesting label segments, there are not any good jokes, and the music is kind of slow and saccharine. Now, I do like the jazz song that comes at the end. It's got some real fucking energy to it and nice rhythm. It's not enough to save this cartoon, but it is enough to make it vaguely interesting. This one is also really short. It's only 5 minutes. Most of the rest of the Looney Tunes / Merry Melody shorts are 7 minutes. That is odd, and it really feels like they couldn't think of many ideas. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Daffy Duck and Egghead. This is a pretty decent cartoon. I don't consider it the greatest, but there are some good elements to it. First of all, I love the screwball version of Daffy, and there are some really funny gags. The best one is the running gag where Daffy bites on Egghead's nose and it makes a certain sound effect. The audience joke is also better than the one in Little Red Walking Hood. This cartoon also is notable for having the song The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down. It is a pretty good version of it. The ending, to be honest, kind of crawls, and the draw and shoot joke could have been a little bit better, but overall, it's definitely worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky's Papa. This cartoon is not actually about Porky's father. It's about his farm being foreclosed on him and being forced to sell his cow Bessie away and turned into a burger and getting a replacement robot cow. Once the robot cow comes, it seems to be better than Bessie in every way. But Porky tries to prove that Bessie can still do things really well. This goes on throughout the cartoon. The ending has a pretty fucking wild climax. I'm just going to spoil the ending. It ends with Bessie having pieces of the robot fall on her head, and his father congratulating on the robot, not knowing it was Bessie. It is framed as a happy ending in the sense that Bessie got the recognition she wanted, but if Porky's father finds out that the robot can't do anything as good as it used to, and finds out that it's Bessie, he's probably going back to square one and having to sell Bessie and get a new cow. Suddenly, this cartoon got really fucking depressing. This cartoon seems to be about the existential fear of being replaced by someone who's better than you. But unlike Toy Story, I can't really have fun with this one because the ending is not as satisfying as the writers thought it was. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. My Little Buckaroo. This cartoon starts out like it's going to be like I'm a big shot now. What I mean is it focuses on a character who is really fucking evil, and the point of the cartoon is to watch him suffer at the end. That does remain intact somewhat. The last half of the cartoon actually focuses on a sheriff and his horse. The sheriff sings a song, My Little Buckaroo, with an annoying fucking voice, which is honestly the worst aspect of this cartoon. However, I did find the climax pretty damn entertaining. In the middle of it, the horse just kind of slides down for fun, even to the tune of The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down. The sheriff doesn't like that and tells the horse to stop, but the horse laments how he doesn't get to have any fun. The sheriff then relents and lets him continue. I actually like this part too. And there's some good shooting. Well, the beginning leaves a lot to desire to be desired. This is actually one of the good Western cartoons. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Porky at the Crocodero. So the premise of this one is that Porky wants to become a band leader, but is stuck with doing dishes at the restaurant that plays music. When Porky fucks up on his job and is fired by his boss. However, when the boss finds out that the band that was supposed to come in is not going to play there anymore, he goes to Porky and gives him a chance to become a band leader. That sounds like a pretty good idea for a short. The second half of it is just a bunch of music-based gags. The running gag with the penguin serving wine only to have it be sucked up by a horn is not that funny, but it does have a genuinely good payoff at the end. While I'm not the biggest fan of the second half, the songs are not anywhere near as bad as the songs from Buddy, and it has a nice stories. I don't think this cartoon is the greatest, mainly due to how uneven it is, but overall it's fine. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Jungle Jitters. Another one of the censored 11. Oh joy. Putting aside the fact that all the African people look like monkeys and want to cannibalize a white man, this cartoon has an uneven plot and is not that funny. It makes you think that it's going to be about the African tribe, considering the first half is just a bunch of gags surrounding them. But once a white man who wants to give them a gift comes in, it focuses almost exclusively on him. That is a fucking weird direction to take the cartoon in. Now, some good moments would be the merry-go-round broke down bit and the ending. The queen tries to get the man to marry him, but he doesn't really want to do it. He only says, "I do," because an African threatened him to do that. But after the man who is marrying them says, "You may now kiss the bride," he's like, "Nah, fuck that. I'd rather die." Good on him. It will always be satisfying to see a man who turns down getting married, especially to a crazy cunt like that. Well, I kind of like the ending. To be honest, it's not good enough to save this cartoon. Not as bad as I expected, but still not great. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. What Price Porky? I don't really like this one. To be honest, I would have been fine with this cartoon because some of the gags when the war goes on are pretty funny. That is, if it wasn't for the ending, when the ducks fuck up Porky and the chicken's well-earned victory. This wouldn't bother me so much if Porky and the chickens were not fighting a just war. They had every reason to be pissed at the ducks. The ducks took their corn and insulted them pretty fucking viciously. Even then, I said that some of them were funny, but every other joke is pretty boring. So I don't really see any reason to watch this cartoon unless you're doing what I'm doing, once again. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Sneezing Weasel. This cartoon is surprisingly good. It has a little brown chicken that has a cold from being in the rain, but also has him and his siblings fight against a weasel that gets the same cold as the brown chicken. What a weird combination, but it works pretty damn well. The slapstick gags are pretty fucking good. It also has an ending that is relatable. The brown chicken has to drink castor oil to make the cold go away. Any kid who has to eat something that tastes horrible from the sickness can relate to this shit. It's nice to have finally a good fucking Merry Melodies cartoon, because those are not really consistently good, at least in this era. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Porky's Phony Express, another good Western cartoon. It has a pretty nice story about Porky wanting to ride the mail, but his boss won't allow him to do that. But his boss allows him to do it, albeit for a fucking sinister reason. This leads to some damn good Western-style shooting gags. The boss's plan ends up failing miserably, and Porky getting revenge. That felt really fucking satisfying. I don't even care if this cartoon wouldn't fly today. It's pretty enjoyable. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. A Star is Hatched. Here's another one I'm not the biggest fan of. It's about a female chicken that tries to get into Hollywood, but she finds it's a lot harder than it looks. The cartoon doesn't really focus on that. Most of it just keeps cutting to jokes that are not really that funny. The only one that I kind of liked was the casting joke. After the director not noticing the female chicken, she gets all sad and just gives up and marries the male chicken from the beginning. And one of her chicks expresses that she wants to get into the film industry, but the female chicken gets really pissed that her daughter wants to do that. Okay, maybe this cartoon could have worked better if the female chicken got into the industry and found out that it was not enjoyable for her. But as is, it really feels fucking weird and disingenuous. Not the worst of the bunch, but not the greatest either. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Porky's 5 in 10. I would have chalked this cartoon up as another cartoon that can't decide whether it wants to tell a story or not if it weren't for the ending. Now the premise is that Porky's luggage gets stolen by a bunch of fish. Most of it revolves around random fucking gags. To be honest, none of them are that funny. The only one I kind of liked was the special news bulletin gag. However, the story revolving around Porky actually has a satisfying ending that makes it feel like the cartoon was at the very least worth seeing. I wouldn't call this the best, mainly because most of the gags are not funny, but the ending made what seemed like a pointless cartoon actually kind of meaningful. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Penguin Parade. This cartoon is not that bad. It revolves around penguins. It's in the title, for crying out loud. There are a few chuckle-worthy gags, including the one where the penguin mentions Leon Schlesinger and Warner Brothers, which is a nice fourth wall break. Sure, a lot of it is just singing and dancing, but there is one joke where it has one of the penguins sing one song in a melody in a moody and slow way, but a few penguins sing the exact same song in a faster, jazzier way. That was pretty damn clever. The ending just has a bunch of penguins going crazy with the jazz music, but I do appreciate the energy it has. This is one of the better music-based cartoons out there. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Porky's Hare Hunt. This one I'm kind of mixed on. This is the cartoon that would inspire the Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd formula for later on in the Looney Tunes history. It does have some decent slapstick with Porky trying to get a rabbit that keeps fucking with him. The rabbit continually tries to guilt trip Porky into not shooting him. At one point he says he has a family, but Porky is not falling for it. Even when Porky gives in to the rabbit's demands, the rabbit turns the tables on him. So the rabbit is not to be trusted. The ending is pretty weird, and I'm not sure if I enjoy it. However, it is still worth checking out if you want to see the real origins of the Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny shorts. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Now that summer is gone, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This is an anti-gambling cartoon. This cartoon goes out of its way to make gambling the worst thing anyone can do. Now, some of you may not want to hear this, but gambling is a victimless crime. You aren't really hurting anyone but yourself if you gamble. But even those who gamble are aware of the risk of losing. Sure, the squirrel was using all his family's acorns to gamble, which makes him look like an awful person. However, as I said before, you can make anything look like shit if you only show the bad aspects of it. I don't gamble myself, but that doesn't mean I look down on people who do it. Yeah, I get that many movies of the 1930s deride gambling, but that doesn't mean it's right. I don't care for this cartoon. It's far from the worst one, but perhaps because I've dealt with movies and people that fabricate victimless crimes so much, I can't really remove the bias. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Engine Trouble, the 1938 version. This one is a pretty decent cartoon. Not quite the greatest, but there are some things to like about it. The premise is that Porky is going on a horse ride and is warned about someone named Injun Joe. Sure, the bit where Injun Joe is an outright fucking dickhead to a bear is not that funny and even downright mean-spirited. But I guess it's done to make Injun Joe seem like a bigger threat. But the gags with the wagon men and that goofy man with a secret that you don't know until the end are pretty good. I even like the Statue of Liberty gag. The ending gag is not the greatest, but it's kind of funny. So yeah, this one is worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. And that'll do it for part 2. As you can see, not the greatest collection of cartoons, but I did manage to find quite a few gems in here. So anyway, I'm Spike Robot. If you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel. And see you next time. Honor the freedom, Jingos.